Adwoa was exhausted after telling a long story. She fell on the ground weak as Madame Esi carried her herbs and incense to heal her, making incantation to renew her strength for another story for money. Suddenly, Afi alighted from a car. Seeing her daughter on the floor, she shouted, what have you done to my daughter? Why all this incantation? Are you using her to make money? Afi shouted the more, help me. Oh, don't kill me. Daughter for me. Neighbor, please come and help me. Oh. In the bustling streets of Accra, life moved to the rhythm of chatter, music, and the cries of street vendors. Afi, a stunning woman with a flair for fashion and luxury, stood out like a rare gem. Her days were filled with parties and high society events, and she thrived on the admiration of others. But her glittering world came at a cost. Behind her bright smile were three children, Adwoa, 10, Kwame, 8, and Abba, 5, who often waited for her to come home. They watched from their modest porch as their mother left in elegant gowns, promising to return soon. "She'll come back before bedtime, won't she?" Abba would ask, her wide eyes filled with hope. Next door lived Auntie Esi, a wise and mysterious woman. Her home smelled of herbs and incense, and she was known for her remedies and kindness. The children adored her, but even they felt an odd unease around her at times. Auntie Esi was always willing to help, though her reasons were rarely questioned. "Please, Sister Esi," Afi would say, handing over her children as she rushed off to another engagement. Auntie Esi would smile warmly, saying, "Don't worry, they'll be fine with me." As Afi disappeared into the night, Auntie Esi would watch her go, her gaze lingering longer than necessary. Little did anyone know, her thoughts were already weaving plans that would change the family's lives forever. Adwoa, the eldest at 10, possessed a gift that could mesmerize anyone who listened. Her tales, filled with magical creatures, heroic deeds, and daring adventures, painted vivid pictures that left her younger siblings wide-eyed and entranced. Each evening they'd gather around her, the flickering candlelight casting dancing shadows on the walls as she wove her stories. But there was an emptiness in Adwoa's heart. She longed for her mother's attention, to be the center of Afi's world instead of the background to her glamorous lifestyle. "If only Mama would listen to my stories," she thought often, watching Afi dress in beautiful clothes and rush off, leaving them behind. As the days passed, the children grew more accustomed to staying at Auntie Esi's house. Auntie Esi's warm smile and gentle voice seemed to replace their mother's absence. The old woman always seemed to know what to say, offering comfort and reassurance when Adwoa felt lost. But Auntie Esi wasn't just a comforting presence. She saw something more in Adwoa's storytelling. One evening, as Adwoa sat on the porch, spinning a tale about a lion and a wise owl, Auntie Esi approached her, her voice soft but insistent. "Adwoa," she said, "your stories are special. You have a gift that could change the world." Adwoa didn't understand what Auntie Esi meant, but the words stirred something inside her, a feeling she couldn't quite place. It was a quiet night when Afi left again for another high society event. The children were at Auntie Esi's house, their laughter filling the air as Adwoa entertained them with another of her stories. Auntie Esi, however, had something else in mind. She motioned for Adwoa to come inside. "Come, child," Auntie Esi whispered, her voice both inviting and mysterious. "I have something to show you." Hesitant, Adwoa followed her into the dimly lit room at the back of the house. The space was filled with strange items, jars of dried herbs, flickering candles, and odd symbols etched into the walls. In the center of the room sat a wooden box, old and carved with intricate designs. Adwoa felt an uneasy shiver run down her spine. "What is it?" she asked. Auntie Esi smiled, her eyes gleaming with an almost otherworldly light. "This is where your true power lies. Your stories can do more than entertain. They can bring prosperity." Adwoa didn't understand, but she felt an odd pull toward the box, a connection she couldn't explain. The room seemed to hum with energy as Auntie Esi whispered an incantation. Adwoa watched in awe as the air around them seemed to vibrate with magic. The days that followed were a blur for Adwoa. With Auntie Esi's pendant around her neck, her storytelling grew even more captivating. Neighbors, drawn by the rumors of her talents, began paying to hear her speak. Auntie Esi always smiled as she collected the coins, offering Adwoa little trinkets in return. Though the wealth flowed, something inside Adwoa felt different. She began to feel drained, as if the energy from her stories was being sucked from her. Her once joyful spirit grew weary. She noticed it most when she returned home after telling a particularly long tale. Her body felt heavy and her mind foggy. Yet Auntie Esi dismissed her concerns. "You're just growing up, my dear," she said, gently brushing Adwoa's worries aside. "More stories mean more strength. You'll be fine." But Adwoa wasn't sure. When she looked into the mirror, she hardly recognized the tired girl staring back at her. Her cheeks, once rosy with life, now appeared pale and hollow. The more she told her stories, the more her energy seemed to fade. Auntie Esi's house had become a gathering place. People from all over the neighborhood and even from other parts of Accra came to hear Adwoa's magical stories. They paid generously, leaving with wide smiles, enchanted by the girl's gift. Auntie Esi collected the money with a practiced grace, always giving Adwoa small tokens in return. Yet, as the crowds grew, Adwoa's joy began to disappear. She found it harder to summon the energy to tell her stories. Her voice, once vibrant and full of life, now seemed to falter, as if something within her was being pulled away. One evening, as Auntie Esi was entertaining a group of guests, Adwoa sat in the corner, feeling the weight of exhaustion press against her. Her mind wandered, and for the first time she wondered why Auntie Esi had taken such a special interest in her gift. Was it really just to help her? Or was there something else at play? As the night wore on, Adwoa's head grew heavy, and she could barely keep her eyes open. But Auntie Esi's voice, warm and soothing, urged her to continue. "Don't stop now, child. Your gift is powerful, and we are just beginning." One evening, Afi came home early, eager to surprise her children. She was shocked to find them all at Auntie Esi's house, still sitting around the table as Adwoa began another story. Something felt off. Adwoa's usually bright eyes were dull, and her voice lacked its usual luster. Afi noticed the crowd of strangers, all watching Adwoa with wide eyes, hanging on every word. The money that exchanged hands only added to the unease she felt. "What's going on here?" Afi demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. Auntie Esi smiled, trying to placate her. "It's just a little gathering, Afi. Your daughter's gift is too valuable to be hidden away." But Afi was not convinced. She grabbed her children and hurried out of the house, her heart heavy with confusion and a growing sense of betrayal. Determined to understand what was happening, Afi sought out a local priestess known for her wisdom and spiritual insight. The priestess listened carefully to Afi's concerns and then, with a grave expression, spoke the truth. "Auntie Esi has used a powerful ritual to bind your daughter's creative energy to her own," the priestess said, her voice low. "Her gift is now feeding Esi's wealth, leaving Adwoa weaker with each tale she tells." Afi felt her world crumble. The mother's guilt weighed heavily on her heart as she realized the extent of Auntie Esi's manipulation. She rushed home, determined to save her daughter and restore their family. With the priestess's guidance, Afi prepared for a cleansing ritual. It was their only hope. That night, under the light of a full moon, they gathered in the courtyard, Adwoa clutching her pendant tightly. The priestess led the family through the ritual, calling on the ancestors for protection. As the flames from the fire danced around them, the pendant began to glow brightly, and Adwoa collapsed, her body convulsing. For a moment, everything was still. Then, with a sudden gasp, Adwoa opened her eyes, and it was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her. Her spirit, though not fully restored, was stronger. The family moved to a new neighborhood, leaving behind the shadows of their past. Afi now dedicated herself fully to her children. She listened to their stories, supported their dreams, and filled the home with love and joy. Adwoa, though still not fully healed, found solace in telling her stories to her siblings, far from the crowds and the pressure. Her tales, though quieter, were more meaningful now, shared with those who truly loved her. Through the trials they had endured, Afi learned the most valuable lesson of all. True wealth lies not in riches, but in the love and well-being of family. Adwoa's gift, though tempered by hardship, became a symbol of resilience and the power of the bond they shared. From then on, the family was united in a love that no one, no wealth or fame, could ever take away. Thank you for your time, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for more unique stories. Bye for now.